Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight, this Thursday night, for our Zoom fellowship. I'm very excited tonight to have our guest. He is going to be one of the speakers at the Remnant Rising 2.0 conference, August 7, 8, and 9 in Springfield, Missouri. And I'll just give you a little background on him. And before I go to that, go to our website now. Some of you have already bought tickets. I see some of you on here. Some of you have bought tickets. Go to our website, Hear the Watchmen, MEN.com, and get signed up. Don't wait. I mean, we go through this every year, and people wait until the last minute, and then they're not able to get a hotel room. They're not able to, get tickets for everything they want. So avail yourself of it now, so get on there and get busy. But Jon Pounders is with us tonight, and I met Jon actually a while back online, and he was referred to me, or Jamie Walden actually, one day. You all know I'm really tight with Jamie. Jamie and I were talking and complaining with each other about stuff, and Jamie said, Have you seen any of this guy, Jon Pounders videos?" I said, "No." I said, "I've never heard of him." And he said, You need to check him out, you know. And I did. And I was like, I do need to check him out. And as many of you know, one of my missions is to lift up the younger guys because I'm going to be 68 here in a few weeks. And I'm getting tired, and it's like when we do a conference and I look out in the audience and everybody looks like me, you know, where I want to see the young guys out there and the young ladies out there. And Jon is one of those. He has an incredible life, wonderful YouTube channel, which I'm sure he'll talk about. And he's raising an amazing Christian family. I saw him today on Facebook carrying a bale of hay, and I was like, I remember when I could do that, you know. But it was he's just really an inspiration to all of us. So, Jon, I really want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mike and Jeannie, and all of you, everybody here that is here to listen and talk and stuff. I'm really excited about this. This is a really cool opportunity, and I really have enjoyed your guys' work and a lot. Most of the people you've platformed for years, I've really enjoyed every single one of their work. And Jamie Walden, I love Jamie. I've had him on my broadcast a few times too. I really, really like the guy. He's awesome and definitely one of a kind. And so to share a platform with people that are been in this game for a long time, and I know it's a battle and it's not easy. There's nothing easy about this, and the fact that you guys have been doing it for so long just really says a lot about you, that you're willing to persevere and willing to push forward in a place that doesn't want you. I mean, this world is not our home. The accolades of the world aren't something that most people can really expect out of this world if they're doing the things, for Christ, and or even just being a good person in general. I just got off an interview with Shemaine Nugent. She was talking about Ted Nugent, how he never would fold for anything. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't do anything, and he's not in the Hall of Fame, and he never wins all these big awards. But like, you can't. Sometimes there's a level that I feel like God allows us to get to, that we just continue, we just keep trying to pass the torch, and that's all we can do in this world. And I'm thankful for you guys for doing that. I mean, this, like, you know how tough it is. It is very, very tough, and there's a lot of people out there really pushing, and I think you guys have an awesome lineup. I'm really, really excited. Out of all the ones I'm doing this year, all the conferences, this is the one I'm the most excited about, and I even have my own conference I do sometimes. So, I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, it's been an honor. I mean, I will say that we're very grateful. I came out of the financial world when I, Jeannie and I started this, and I thought to myself, oh, this is going to be so cool, so easy. I mean, I'll know who's, in the financial world, you never know who's going to stab you in the back, but you know why, you
Right.
know. And I thought, whoa, that'll never happen in in the Christian field. So I was pretty naive when we started all this, but I'm no longer that way. But anyway, John, as Christians, we cannot ignore this whole Epstein file issue and what's going on. I think a lot of us are put our heads in the sand and say, oh, but you can't ignore what's happening with it. And you guys, John has done some deep research into it. And I asked him tonight to come on and talk a little bit about that. So, John, go ahead. Tell us what's really behind all that.
I will tell you my theories to the best of what I can come up with because listen, this thing is so deep. The Epstein files connect to almost every conspiracy that I've talked about for the last decade. He connects to almost every major organization in the world. He was on the board of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Trilateral Commission, places like that. I mean, this guy has a prestigious amount of boards that he's on, even after being classified as an offender. He was still on these boards. And in fact, people even asked him after the fact. He was still having people come out to his island even after they knew that he was an offender. And when you look at like all the weird mentions, and I haven't looked at all the files, I don't think anybody has the brain power to look at millions of files at the same time. But like right now, what I'm seeing in here is like all the weird science experiments. You have Zorro Ranch, which they've never searched, and some associates of high level government officials now own the ranch, and they're wanting to convert it to a Christian camp of sorts, which is crazy. But you have all of these things connecting together to form this giant web that leaves you with just really what is the options? The options, Pam Bondi said it pretty well. Like if I were to um if I were to take these people to court to try all these people, then the government would have to collapse. And I think that's where everybody's at right now. Everybody's at the point to say, well, should we have the government collapse? Because if this is the case, that we are being run by PDF files, then can we continue the system just because it works, just because we're living paycheck to paycheck, just because we're still having to pay our taxes while the people that rule us are doing horrific stuff behind the scene? I think it's either a controlled demolition or it is the demolition of society as we know it, and something new is coming. It's kind of reminds me in the scripture when like a new power comes up, when Persia was going down, Greece was coming up, and you just keep having these new folds of things that happen. But the thing that is seems different about right now, Epstein was an international man. These people we're dealing with aren't regional. This is an international spirit that's controlling this web. This is not a regional spirit anymore. We used to deal with regional spirits or regional angels, like you guys all heard the Heiser discussions about the splitting of the nations. Well, now it seems that we're under a power that is a one world system power, a one world entity that is controlling all of these things because the bankers, all of that stuff is international. So there's a good intro to, I guess, what I wanted to talk about.
Well, I mean, what amazes me, John, is so Prince Andrew gets arrested for like 20 minutes, thrown in jail, and the whole world goes crazy,
Yeah, I
you
thought I
know.
thought I was gonna have to pinch myself. I was like, is he really getting arrested? But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, the reaction to the world and the reaction of the media is stunning to me. I mean, what do you think drives that?
I think people want so bad to see justice. They want to see these people and they want to see them get what they deserve. I mean, if these files are true, what they've done is so horrific that no, we can't not see something done about this. This is beyond the point. Either we're allowing vampires to rule, either we allow vampires to rule or something must be done. There's no other option. And so people are loving, just even if it's just the theater of him getting arrested, they're grasping onto that because they know that something has to be done about this. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I'm curious because that's what I see.
I think I think part of it is people just wanting to continue the hype. It's entertainment to them, unfortunately, you
Right.
know, and I think that I think that it's a sign of our times. I think it truly is. I mean, we became a society that was willing to look the other way when a lot of this was going on. This could not have gone on as long as it went on without anybody knowing about it, And so it's like I hope we've turned the corner with all that. Biblically, where do you think we are biblically with all this?
It reminds me of Balaam and Balak, where they couldn't curse the Israelites because God had his hand over them, but they were crafting together an idea that worked. And what they did is they sent in the prostitutes, they sent in all of the sinful things that would cause the children of Israel to stumble. And when the children of Israel partook, they stumbled. And that's what I think happened to our government. That's what they think happened to our actors. That's what happened to our officials. They stumbled when they had all of the curses sent in to them to cause them to stumble. I think that's what happened. We're in the stumbling process. We've been exposed. When I say we, obviously we're not a part of those files, and none of us here on the call are a part of those files. But our system that is being held together already by a thread. Really, most people are, very irritated about all of the things going on. There's so much weird corruption every week, a new things dropping, and so I think that when you look at that as a whole and you see all of this stuff coming together, man, it's just I don't even really know how to fathom how we go forward from this. And I keep coming back to that thought, but it's like, how do you come forward from something like this? And how, like me alone, me personally, I say let Babylon be Babylon, let it fall if it must. I think if that's what's supposed to happen, let it happen. Because I know that like in my power, I live in Southern Indiana. Like the only really power that I have is through my tongue. And if that's even when that gets silenced, then that's the only power I have. But I think that regionally we need to like really be adapting what we do, what we feel is important, and how we choose to help our own community because where we're at right now is judgment phase is coming. I think this is where my mind goes to. This is what everything that I've seen, and whether it be a vision or a dream, is like we're coming to a point of judgment. But know that there's places that are going to be judged way harder than others. I've seen it in my dreams. I've seen it. I believe that there's going to be places that are judged harder than others. I believe that we do have God's hand through us through whatever happens, and some people believe we'll be raptured, and maybe that's the case. Or if not, God knows us, He loves us, and if we can stay close within His grasp, within His wings, I feel like we're going to be able to see things go down that other people aren't going to be able to see. We're going to see behind the curtain. We're going to see the theater that's played before us because ultimately, all any of us know right now is that we're being told by our own people that our own people are bad people. Like we're being told it all. Like it's here. It's like presented. Boom. Here you go. And where do you go from there? That's all I can think of. I can't think of anything else other than judgments coming for our people. It has to be maybe not us, but our government in some way. Maybe a new system's being rolled in, controlled demolition, but we're somewhere in there. And I feel like 85 seconds to midnight's what they've been saying or whatever. I think we're we might be closer than that. I really don't know. It feels close to me. It really does. Just like your wife was saying before the show, like she's had these visions for a reason. I feel like the same thing. I feel like I've seen these things because maybe in my lifetime I'm going to see them again, or maybe I'm supposed to say like, hey, this is what I've seen coming. And one of the things that I can think of that this is a vision that I had. This was what I and people, always laugh at visions or they think that it doesn't happen. I'm just telling you what I saw, and what I saw in this vision that I had. I was sitting on my bed and I was praying, and I was just in trying to like get as close to God and pray as much as I could. And I kind of went into this, zone to where in one moment I had an angel that lifted me by the hair and picked me up into the sky. I had long hair at the time, so it was like down to my shoulders, and picked me up into the sky and took me up, and I saw the United States, and I could see like things going about business. And then I saw on both coasts, on both sides of the coast, that there were like submarines coming up, and there were ships coming up, and there were things taking place on these coasts that nobody even knew were going on. They were the enemy, and in my dream it was Russia and China, and they were up on both sides, and the whole world was silent about it. Nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. It was like there was nothing on about it. Nobody knew that it was even going to happen. And it happened. And so I don't know why I had that thought. I've heard Jamie, he said he has something similar like that he remembers having, but I think that we're being propped up with a lot of propaganda right now. We have disclosure coming out, like they're talking about disclosure. So there's a running deception that's being dripped about through almost every channel in the realm, because nobody knows for sure what's going on. And so there's just so much talk, and the idea that most children haven't read a Bible, but they've watched a Marvel movie, they've watched all these other things, so they don't even know what's going to happen. So we're there, man. We're there. We're somewhere deep.
Well, and Jeannie, just sit tight. Don't come out of your chair there. I'll get to you here in just a second. Uh, John, you mentioned propaganda. What do you think the propaganda machine, which side of the fence are they on?
Well, I think it was Obama that passed the law that made it okay. I can't remember the name of it. You guys can look it up, but where it was okay to um, manipulate, basically propagandize the American people. Smith-Mundt, I believe, is what it was called. I could be way off. I could be thinking of something else. So, correct me later. I know you'll get comments telling me what it was, but he signed that in. I think Trump signed it out again, and then it was signed back in again. So I don't know where we're at with all that, but um, I think this. I think that I don't like to accuse people of being evil, but I will say that it is strange that the people who have the most to gain own the propaganda machines. There's only a few people that own those. I'll say that's strange. I'll say it's strange that they also own the education system. And I'll say it's strange that we are pretty much left with their products. So, I mean, you guys can put it together whatever you want, and I don't know that they're all evil. I don't think all billionaires or all the industrious people are evil. I think a lot of them are probably good people, but they get in this mode to where they've been so far disconnected from normal people that they just are afraid. They think that everybody's evil, everybody's, something's wrong, and they get in this money making mode to where it's all about them and their family and their people that they have. And so we're in a dangerous place with people who have a lot right now. They have a lot, and some of them are wicked, some of them are pure evil, like pure, you've seen it, it goes all the way up to royalty. But some of these people are just dangerous because of their fears of losing everything. And um, I can't even remember your question now, but hopefully that answered it.
You got it.
Okay.
Jeannie, go ahead.
Thank you, honey. Yeah, so John, I mean, the vision that you had with the submarines and China and Russia is not only exactly what I had,
Wow.
but when I had it, I was so floored and thought I was losing my marbles that I sought out two people, and I had so much comfort, not comfort in knowing, but comfort in knowing I'm not alone.
Mm,
Dimitri Duduman and Henry Groover.
mm.
And you probably have heard or
I
know.
heard, yeah, as soon as I talked about that, people posted that in the comments and I went and
Yeah.
checked those out. So yeah, I
So
mean it
so
was
Henry
crazy.
was
I
a
wrote it
really
down right away. Anyway, I didn't mean to
Henry
interrupt, but
Groover was a really, really good friend of mine. Like I met him at a Steve Quilt conference and I glued to him and I said, Henry, the reason I love you so much is because you've been so bold and you know, sharing your visions. And I've had the same visions. So it made me feel like I'm not, certifiable, frankly.
yeah.
And then Dimitri Duduman, his son, his grandson, Michael Boldea, has been, part of our ministry for a long time. Henry Groover spoke at one of our conferences for 3 hours or something crazy. And I spoke to him until he like literally like until a couple hours before he passed. So I
Mhm.
love the man. But the bottom line is that God's warning us, and it's hard to know, what God is saying. This will absolutely happen. But one thing that is really disturbing me is from 5G to 6G and all the people that were vaccinated and all of us that weren't, that are still that are still filled with hydrogel because we found it in water and or air or something. We don't even know why. We're getting sounds in our brains and we can't sleep at night. So there's a lot of us that are suffering. And I thought, I remember praying the other night. I'm like, Jesus, if you would just get rid of the cell towers and 6G, because it's coming. And I don't know where our government is on that, but it's Henry saw these towers. I mean, his vision was in the 90s. They didn't have cell towers then, right?
Yeah.
He thought they were radio towers, like that the enemy was cutting off communication, but they like sizzled and just went to the ground. He saw the whole United States and all these towers. And I'm like, God, if you're going to do something, get rid of the towers.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I'm not telling him that. I'm just like, that makes sense. Like, it's interesting how a vision will make sense on one level. And then when technology develops, it really makes sense in a different way. But it's fascinating because Russia and China are not, I mean, I, I mean, let me just tell you, like before we moved from California, I'm like, Mike, Russians are invading our town. And he's like, no, they're not, because he's always looking at things through rose-colored glasses. That's just his nature. And he's such a good man. Like he wants to see the best in everyone. And when I had these dreams and visions, I'm like, something's not right here. So we go to Costco, and the woman checking us out at Costco is from Russia. And then when we bought something that you had to get a little tag for it, and then they had to go in the back and get it, like you couldn't just grab it off the shelf. The manager is Russian, and I'm like, did I not tell you that Russians are moving in our town like crazy? And then I go to the post office, it's all Chinese.
Mhm.
Everyone at our post office in Orange County, California was Chinese.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, so now they're controlling our distribution center and they're invading our country. And the other weird thing was I had heard from some podcasts that it was a Russian whistleblower who was Christian and warning America, like, we're here to basically mess you up and you got to get right so we don't have to do this. And they were all given $50,000 plus a white F-150 Ford pickup, and then they were to get a job, any job, like it didn't matter, Costco, El Pollo Loco, I mean McDonald's, it didn't matter. They'd had to get a cover job, right? But these guys were like chiseled jaw with their hair all short, like you knew they were Russian, right? You just and they didn't, and their accent was pretty thick. So I saw this and I'm like, my God, like if you don't know it's happening, you think it's just sort of, oh, that's interesting that we have Russians living. Now my neighbors are all Chinese and Russians. And what's happening, you know? Um, so my point in that is that your visions are real. And one of the reasons we moved from California was God was like pounding on my heart, get out, get out, get out. And what's really weird now is he, like 4 or 5 years ago, drew me back and said, take back your territory. Like California needs to be, and Christians need to pray for California. There are so many good people in California that are fighting for their life because it's gotten so bad. And sometimes God works that way. And what Henry saw was missiles coming in, and he diffused the missiles from submarines that were coming through the coast. But the missiles were being diffused, and he saw domes over certain areas of the remnant body that were protected. And he also saw, which is interesting, those radio towers. He thought that the countries were cutting off our communication. Well, they were, but they were cell towers that are doing 5 and 6G on us and messing up with our sleep and our, they're messing with us big
Mhm.
time. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see how all this stuff that Henry saw, and then Dimitri Duduman had similar prophecies. He died many many years ago, but his grandson Michael Boldea was his interpreter. He came from Romania, Bible smuggler, and Michael Boldea spoke at many of our conferences, and he's just like, we just have to know the Lord. Like, our only protection doesn't matter where we live.
Hmm.
There are certain places that will be protected, but it's about who we are in Christ. It's our relationship with Jesus
Yep.
that will be our protector. And Jesus may take us home because he chooses, just like he did with our friend Russ Dizdar and Rob Skiba and Tom Horn. I mean, we were all very close to these people. And when it's our time, it's our time.
Yep.
But what are your thoughts about Trump and his role in this? Do you believe that he is sincerely, like, he knows he knows what's going on. He's been a party to these wicked people, but in my opinion, and I may be wrong, but I do believe he's trying to turn it around, but he's will never ever depend on a man. Like, Jesus has to intervene. God's got to intervene because it's gotten too bad, in my opinion. And I also believe, what are your thoughts on this? That if, with what's happening with 6G entering the picture, so many people that were shot up with the COVID shot that don't have that are asymptomatic will get activated. It's been proven that scientifically that they know how to activate certain people and not activate others, but when 6G comes along, it'll be activation. And we literally go nuts especially if we're jabbed. What are your thoughts on all that? I mean,
So I'll start with Trump. Do you want me to start with Trump and
yeah.
what my thoughts are? So for before Trump got elected the first time, I knew he was going to get elected. I called it. I told my friends, I'm like, Trump is going to be the president. I just know he's going to be the president. And I've always had such a good feeling about the guy, and I don't know why, and I can't really always put my finger on it. And he's not perfect. He's got flaws. He's got issues. But I think that in order to lead a country and to go up against thugs and gangsters, you kind of have to be one yourself in a way. Look at David. How many people did he circumcise? Forcefully and put on a necklace to bring for the princess. Like how many. He wasn't what you would think of as the average Western church boy that goes to church. He was a ruffian. He was a somebody that, and Trump's a ruffian. He's been shot. He's still going, if you can believe that that was real, that he's been shot. He's been prosecuted many times. He's like kind of like the Teflon Don in a lot of ways. So it's hard not to enjoy that process. There's part of me that's suspicious that it's all acting. Everything that is going on is acting, but I have a hard time believing it because I do know people that know Trump, that know him and know his family, and they just believe he's a good man. And I think that, good man or not, he might be the best man for the job, and I think he probably is. If there's anybody that can do anything, he might be that guy. I mean, I just don't see too many other people that have the qualifications, the um, knowledge, the ability to continue along even at his age the way that he does. I mean, I've known people that have had him to their house before. I don't know the person that had him at their house, but they had him at their my friend's house, that or my friend's boss's house, and he was just telling me, he's like, look, the guy sleeps like 3 or 4 hours. He's up, they're ready to roll, they're rocking, they're going on nonstop. I mean, he's a high level guy, but even him, at some level, it's going to take God's intervention through whoever's in charge or in leadership for anything to be able to happen. There's no chance that one man can tame the web that is out there. I mean, we're talking a million spiders that have all branched their webs together. You take down one, there's another one that pops up. It's just a web. And this Epstein thing exposed that there's nobody that we have in power. Not, I'm not saying nobody, there are some, but the people that we have in power aren't capable of making it into power without getting corrupted by money or by women or by children or by something dark and demonic and disgusting. That is what the reality is that has been shown to us. So, and then the other question you had is about the activation of the frequencies of the 5 and 6G. And you're dead on with that. Frequencies matter so much. I had the opportunity to friend a man who runs a laboratory, but he also has partners that do frequency work. And I'm not condoning or condemning because I don't know enough about any of this stuff to do anything other than explain to you what was explained to me. But everything has a frequency. Even this pin right here, if you were to put it up, this frequency could be measured of this pin. If you had a Tylenol, the frequency could be measured of that Tylenol. And the interesting thing about the body is it doesn't seem to be able to tell the difference between the frequency of something and the actual thing. So they experimented. This guy collected 10,000 frequencies for the government. And after he was done collecting these frequencies, he was allowed to keep most of them. They only wanted some of them. And he figured out how to shoot the frequencies into the human body. And these frequencies, so like, let's just give an example that they used for one of the examples was marijuana. They were able to get the frequency for the THC in the marijuana, the bud, and they were able to take the frequency and put it in via patch or via sound device, and it would create the feeling of the marijuana or the THC. But as soon as you stop the frequency, the feeling stops. So it wasn't like regular marijuana where you would fail a drug test or you would experience it for maybe longer than you want to. I don't know if anybody's had one of those experiences, especially nowadays where they have all the crazy gummies. Like, people might have taken one and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, like I'm way beyond where I need to be right now. But this is a way that they develop, but they do that. They have these things that, because the body has this way that if it feels the frequency, then it reacts as if it's in the body. So imagine that weaponized for evil,
Yeah.
and that's what you got. That's what it is.
Well, let's talk for a minute, John, about evil. Yeah, because I recently had a real eye-opening experience with evil.
Mhm.
And what do you think? There are so many Christians out there that say, yeah, 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 I understand the evil. I understand the demonic. Yeah, maybe, you know. I believe it's very real, and I believe it's driving this. Where do you stand on that?
Absolutely, man. 100% real, 100% driving this. That is the force that works against mankind. I mean, he talks about that in the book of Enoch when it says that the Nephilim, when they died, became evil spirits that work against mankind. And absolutely, man, that's what's driving a lot of this stuff, a lot of this technology, the hearts of men. I mean, this is demonic, this energy that anytime you'll see men doing the kind of stuff that they're doing in these files that are out there. And we've been talking about this stuff for a long time. People like you, Russ Dizdar, She mentioned Skiba and Horn, and everybody's been talking about these nasty people for a very, very long time. Now it's in the open, but so like I definitely believe that you have to be driven by a demon to be able to do these things and to feel good about it. I mean, you saw the emails, they're bragging about videos. I mean, they're bragging about how they like to torture video. How demonic do you have to be in order to have that issue? I mean, that's beyond what I can even imagine. Now, I know that there are people out there that are very evil and they get progressively more evil as they go on. Maybe this aroused them before, then they go forward and forward and forward. But at some point, demons inhabit that. That's like the demon's playground. When you accept that kind of perversion into your mind, you become a demon's playground, and that's exactly what they've been wanting from the start. Whoever's behind this mass manipulation, they've wanted demonic energy to enter into our country and into our people for a long time.
Interesting. Interesting. So, John, we know all this stuff's here. I mean, if you don't, I don't know what to do to wake you up, you know. Uh, but it's all here. As Christians, as the body, what's our job?
That's a great question. I think that's the most important question that you could probably ask, because you can think about all these things, you can know all these things, because I would assume that probably most of the people in this community you guys have heard everything that I just said and probably 10 times over. So in my opinion, and this is what has really helped me to transform into what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing, is to be able to give up your desires to have the accolades of the world, their desires to perform the way that the world expects you to perform, and to think about this for a second. Imagine this, that you were put here on this earth and you were put here for a very specific reason. We're not talking like, sprinkle a little bit of Mike in here, sprinkle a little bit of Jeannie in here, sprinkle a little bit of Ronald or Jen or Kenny, or, sprinkle a little bit of these in here. No, I believe there is a specific purpose that you have as a human, because you're made it very specifically. The Bible says he knits us together in the womb. Imagine that that's the case. Now, think about what this world's designed to do. This world's designed to pull you from here. It's designed to pull you there. It's designed to put pressure on you. It's designed to put fear in your mind. Not by God's design, but by the enemy's design. It's designed to pull you away from everything that we just thought about, everything that we just imagined, all of the things that God has in store for you. And the things he has in store for you are great, they're great. He wouldn't give you, what does the scripture say? And I'm not going to quote it right, but I'm going to try. But he doesn't give, serpents to his children when they're asking for grain or whatever. I don't, that's probably not it, but you get the idea. He's not going to give you something evil in return for you wanting good, but he has something for you. And sometimes, we think, oh, God's not coming through for me. But really, in all honesty, it's us being like, okay, I really want to chase after this because I can only think of this way to sustain me, or I can only imagine my life going this way, instead of being like, okay, I know I'm made for something. I know I love things. I have passions. I have things that God has put on my heart to do. I'm going to pursue that. It's hard because a lot of us are already at a stage in our life to where these things have been laid upon us. Now we're stuck in different ways. But I do believe that, given the ability that we have through Christ to be his children, we have the ability that Bible says that faith can move mountains, and that we can walk forward in his strength. It says that we're a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. And I believe that just by our ability to be able to rely on God and think about those things that you're supposed to do, and rely on God to make a way for that to happen, put that at the desire of your heart. And God gives us these desires, and people think, oh, that's not true and it should happen right away. But it doesn't always happen right away. It's something that we have to build up to if you don't want to lose those things. Nothing's easy, but it takes time. But once you get there, you realize, okay, I had to go through a lot of stuff to get here, but now I'm at a place now to where I understand what's going on. And God can make you something amazing when whatever that is. It could look different to a bunch of different people. None of us know. None of us are exactly wired the same. You know, the Bible talks about there being different parts to the body, but I believe there's absolute greatness as long as we walk in the power of God and we ask anything that we want, God will give to us as long as we're asking according to his will and according to what is good and what is holy and righteous. I really believe that. And so like that's what I say we do. We walk in faith, you walk in the power of God, you ask for things that you know will further the kingdom that you want to continue doing and you keep pursuing it, you keep thinking about it. And when you think about things, it's not like this magical thing that happens. What happens is you think about it and then everything that you do progresses towards that goal because it just becomes natural. It's like, okay, I've been thinking about this every day. In my spare time, I'm going to do this a couple hours a day. I've been thinking about this every day, so I'm going to be working towards that and I'm going to be making sure that this is really my goal, because if something's really your goal, you're going to make steps towards that goal. If it's just a dream, that you don't plan on pursuing, you're just going to think about it and be upset that you didn't do it. So is it a goal or a dream? And that's really kind of where you got to go with this. And I believe that God can do mighty works through you, and it can look so different. I mean, prophets in the Bible, you saw some of the prophets, it looked different for some of them. Some of them were had to lay on their side for, you know, a certain amount of days. I mean, there's things that God will put you in, but you're going to be ready for those situations. You know, I remember saying this, Mike. I remember saying, I will never go to the Middle East. Like, God, please don't ever send me there. I'll never go there. And, you know, just like a year ago, I ended up going. So, like, I wanted to. It was weird, but like, there's all of these things that God will just completely shift your mind towards if you rely on actually doing what He wants you to do and kind of blocking out the rest of the things. It's really hard to do because we believe we're supposed to know about everything. We're supposed to know about what's going on in Yemen. We're supposed to know about what's going on in LA. We're supposed to know about what's going on in New Orleans. But back in ancient times, you probably wouldn't know what was going on 100 miles from you. You know, this is this idea that we have to worry about everything in the world that's going on at the same time. I say cast that out of your mind. That's one another thing. That's something that's really important. I talk about these things and I research these things because it's really a part of what I think the big deception that's coming in. But as soon as we're done, Mike and Jeannie, as soon as we lay this broadcast down, my mind shifts to another place. It shifts to the place that I have here that's in the open that God has shown me. And I think that that's where peace is, because God can bless those arenas that we're in. And so I say pursue the idea that you're a royal priesthood and a holy nation. Pursue that. Look up all the places it talks about that. Figure out, what does that mean? How am I going to be a priest to the people in this country? Like, how am I going to be a someone who offers up spiritual sacrifices for my area that I'm affecting? And you might just be a house mom. That might be your arena. But guess what? You can one of your children could grow up to affect millions of people. You just don't know. But your job, in a way, is even more important. You know, I consider my wife's job more important than my job. I love my children and I do my best to teach them the ways that are important. But ultimately, whether things get enforced and whether you know, they get their education properly, a lot of that comes from their mother. And so I'm counting on her to raise five young royal priests, holy nation, peculiar people. I'm counting on that. And so that's a huge job. And so don't ever count yourself out because that might be your job. That's something that's so important. You could be raising the next Elijah. You could be raising, you know, you just don't know what your job is in this, but there's a way that to be affecting this. I know that was a long-winded answer, and probably, you know, maybe redundant in some ways, but I just think that's something that I would love to always leave with people.
No, I think you nailed it, is what I think, you know, and I think everybody else would agree. Okay, so John, I'm going to stop the recording now
Okay.
and we're going to go to questions. So hang on.